You're listening to Intuitive Style, where we believe that everyone has style. I'm Maureen Welton. In conversation with fantastic guests, we explore how to tap into our style intuition so that we can dress authentically and live fully. Today's guest is Evonne Sturm, fashion industry veteran, and her Substack, Musings of a Merchandiser, is a fun glimpse into the fashion machine, where she integrates personal narrative into deep dives on industry trends, both consumer-led and brand-led. Yvonne, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Maureen. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to talk. Whenever I have a guest that's in industry, that's not my experience whatsoever, I really like to start out talking about how working in fashion has impacted your personal style and the way you dress. Understanding, of course, that you don't necessarily have a frame of reference for what it might be like otherwise. But I'm curious if you can think of any memorable moments where working in fashion really impacted your taste or the way that you were dressing?
Sure, it's actually a great question to start. So I would say working in fashion inevitably changes just how you see clothing in general. You really start to notice like construction before color, fabrication before fit. And over time, I've really kind of stopped chasing trends and started just really chasing a feeling. I know silhouettes that make me feel really pulled together and which ones that make me feel like I'm playing dress up. Um, I would say probably the most memorable moment happened pretty early in my career back at Macy's, and not to age myself, but over 15 years ago, when I got a first real look kind of behind the curtain how like every decision from fabric quality to button to style to hem finish really came with a cost implication and a trade-off. It's incredibly mind-blowing when you realize how much goes into the make of a single garment.
Mm.
And then once you've seen that, you cannot unsee it, especially as a merchandiser. I think about it literally 24 hours a day, whether I'm at work or whether I'm shopping personally.
Yeah, so I mean, as a recovering perfectionist, I see so much detail in every purchase that I make. I was just looking at some shirts and I was like, some of these buttons are white on navy, and then the the plum version has plum colored buttons, and I much prefer that. Like, how do you handle that level of detail that you must see when you're shopping? Does it ever get in the way, or do you feel like it's an asset?
It's both an asset and it always gets in the way.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, like I mean, it's just like I said, it's just inevitable.
Yeah.
I just and I'm a curious person by nature too, and I just can never turn it off. And sometimes I have to realize, okay, you came out not for work, you came out for yourself. So, like once I kind of am able to like switch that mindset like off, and it almost rarely happens where I truly just kind of try to forget about it, and then sometimes it comes back full force when I look at the price tag on the garment. I'm like, "Really?" And then I look at where the garment's made. I'm like, "Really?" Like it kind of just like constantly snowballs.
I want to know a little bit more about what you mean. So, when you see the price tag, does that raise your standards, lower your standards?
I mean, that's a funny question or like a really interesting question because
Sure.
it honestly just kind of depends on the overall brand itself and kind of your perceived value of it, and then kind of how it feels when you're touching it, when you're, putting it on your body. So, it really depends. And, it's a funny thing I think about, especially when I shop luxury items because
Okay.
knowing
Mhm.
how much the markup is on those things, like,
Sure.
just will blow your mind. But then, you got to take into consideration the craftsmanship and where it's made. And, if you're looking at a luxury handbag, the type of leather. But all of those details, come into play constantly.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what about working at have you ever worked in office? Like, does the experience of dressing for a fashion office culture change how you might dress or impact?
Yes and no. I mean, I've been going into an office since the dawn of time, since the start of my career, and it definitely has fluctuated how much I'm in office versus, kind of where we've all netted out after COVID. But, early on in my career, the office etiquette or style has definitely evolved. I mean, back when I
Yeah.
worked at Macy's, like we were not allowed to wear denim, but only on Fridays.
Okay, yeah.
So, you constantly had to be polished and
Yeah.
presentable and never
Yeah.
relaxed or, in kind of almost like your weekend apparel. But since then, I mean, that is just even thinking about that over time, that just seems wild that you were not allowed to wear jeans to the office other than Fridays. Like now I think I wear jeans probably constantly. But and there's a way to dress them up and evolve them. So, whether you're putting them with a nice pair of heels or a nice pair of loafers, or you're completely disregarding the jean in general and you're wearing a nice pair of like pleated trousers. So it's
Yeah.
fashion has definitely evolved in the workplace, and I think there are so many brands now that take a new spin on it versus wearing the mundane like tried and true suit.
Yeah, I totally forgot that when I first started working, same, like, no jeans, or if you could wear jeans, they had to be black.
Yeah.
It was like a whole thing, and now not even remotely on my mind. That's so funny.
Yeah, and even at I
Um,
think at Macy's, at Bloomingdale's, back in the day, and I don't know if this is, like, still the case, but, like, you always had to wear black, like, on a market appointment if you were
oh,
if you were going
interesting.
anywhere. Like, they almost
Yeah,
had, like, a set signature uniform, and I'd be curious if any Bloomingdale's people are out there in the universe, I'd love to know if the dress code has evolved or not.
interesting. Yeah, like a Sephora employee.
Totally, totally, totally.
Cool. Well, one of the fun things about your newsletter in particular is the way you weave your personal narrative in with your industry expertise. For example, you had a really nice piece about eyewear, which of course you're wearing a fabulous pair today, which you have a personal connection to beyond the trends. So I'd love to hear more about your personal connection to eyewear and how this became your signature.
Totally. I've worn glasses since the 3rd grade. So they've been part of me for a very, very, very long time. And my eyesight, believe it or not, has only gotten worse over time, which has, I think, really deepened my love for eyewear dramatically. It's the one accessory that I truly need, and maybe that's why I care about it so much. It wasn't until after college when I started working and spending most of my time, like most of my day at a computer, that I thought about thinking about eyewear differently. It's not just a necessity, but it's really, as you said, a form of self expression. Over time, I would say my glasses definitely evolved into what I call my visual signature. I think of them the same way somebody would think of a lipstick, their favorite
Uh-huh.
lipstick or their favorite jacket. They really anchor my look, and they frame not only how I see the world, both literally and figuratively. And I would say probably the biggest influence when it comes to eyewear is my deep, deep, deep love for Iris Apfel and her oversized signature frames. As they say, the
Yeah.
bigger the frame, the closer to God, maybe. But with my small features, I really love the playfulness of an exaggerated shape. There was a place in New York that I would go to on the regular for my glasses. This is where these are from. It's from a brand called See Eyewear,
Mhm.
SEE. And I would come in every year or two because I needed a new prescription because my eyes got worse.
Oh,
And the manager noticed, we began to have a rapport, and I would come in and he'd tell his sales associates, like, do not give her anything that isn't oversized. Like, she will just not touch it. So they always knew, like, to put aside the big, big frames for me because that's always what I ended up um, buying. And, I really think that because I'm short in size, like, the oversized frames not only, like, amplify my voice, but then they also help, like, amplify my personality on, like, a whole other level.
that's really cool. I love that perspective on it because, there's so many different ways that we can think about our body and proportion. And like sometimes there can be this idea like you want to like match your proportions, but I love the idea of like playing with, well, one, there's no right or wrong answer, right? It's all about
Totally.
the personal preference. But I love that the intentional the intentionality of big because I'm small. I think that's really fun, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Iris is such an icon.
Oh, what a
Um,
legend. RIP.
and then when you are picking, so, like, you want a bigger pair, how do you know when a pair is the right one for you?
I don't know, there's just something that, like, clicks. I can't describe it. It's like when you put on a pair of jeans and you're like, "Oh, man." Like, everything about them fits me like a glove. It's like it's the same thing with eyewear. I think in the past, used to gravitate towards like bold color and maybe a little bit of a pattern. And I've some tried to veer away from that more recently. And I've really tried to play up my like hair color, like accentuating my eye color. And so almost like I used to have a pair of like really dark blue frames and I loved them, but they were such a contrast to like my pale skin that it was actually, like, too much, and then, like, the exaggerated frame and, like, against my pale skin, like, was, like, not a good combo, and so now I find myself really gravitating towards, like, rich browns and tortoiseshell, because I think it helps frame my face even better, with, like,
Uh-huh.
the coloring of my skin tone and my eyes.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's really fun. And also, I always like to balance this idea of like the analytical side with the intuitive side. Not that I really think that they're opposites, but I do think like the word intentionality there again really speaks to that we can have an idea of what we want going in and we can make an intentional choice to be like, yeah, the blue, I had enough experience with the blue and that particular shape on me to know that that doesn't feel right anymore. And
Right.
it's like you're like using experience to build your intuition versus just like, it's not like an impulsive decision. It's something that you have data on and you're like, "Oh, well, that worked for a while or I tried it out and now I want to do something different." And that's what
Totally.
helps us like build that intuition is creating that data, making that model for ourselves about what does and doesn't feel good, I think.
Absolutely. And I would say just to even circle back to like the first point about just like
Yeah.
peeling behind the curtain and knowing how much things cost. I think one push and pull that I definitely have with eyewear is like the cost of it. And I have to like
Okay.
constantly remind myself that the cost per like even if the frame is and I've got also, like, my lenses because I'm blind, like, are even more expensive, and I like the bigger frame, so, like, it's a little bit of a mashup of making sure that the frame itself can hold the denseness of the lens,
Okay.
which inevitably causes the overall package to just be more expensive. And it's this like push and pull that I have because I'm like, "Ugh, I really like the frame. It looks so good on my face, but like the price tag, like, ugh."
Yeah.
However, I like constantly have to remind myself that the cost per wear, like, will literally pay for itself because I put them on the minute I get up in the morning to look at my phone, and I take them off literally the minute before I wash my face and go to bed. So if you think about the amount of hours in the
Yeah.
day that I spend wearing them, like, who cares really? I gotta, like, kinda take off the sticker shock of the price tag,
Yeah.
and just, settle in with the fact that I'm gonna wear them literally 24/7, so it doesn't matter.
Well, this is totally anecdotal, but I have this feeling that when I was younger, glasses weren't cool, but now, like, like, glasses come in and out of being stylish just in general. Do you feel
Totally.
that that's true? Like, have you experienced that?
Absolutely. I mean, in the 3rd grade when I found out I had to get glasses, I bawled my eyes out. Like, I was so deeply upset because I was afraid that I was gonna get made fun of and people were gonna call me Four Eyes. I mean, the, like, amount of nicknames that came up in my head for people
Okay.
judging me for having to wear glasses because
Yeah.
to your point, like, so many people now wear them, right? But back then, it was kinda almost, like, taboo or you need them because, like, you can't do your work or you can't see correctly, like, you're impaired, literally.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
it was constantly something I thought about, growing up. But now, I don't know, it's because it's part of my style, I've just, like, fully just leaned into it, and I love now that there's just so much variety in the market.
Uh,
I think also too, when I was younger, we went to the same eyeglass place, and because I was a kid and needed glasses, like, the amount of options were so limiting, and so I had maybe, like, 1 or 2 choices to pick from, which I wasn't excited about because like, the options were just so narrow, which then, like, fed into the whole narrative of having to wear glasses, but now, I mean, the options are just
yeah.
endless, which is also a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because you have just so much choice, but that's what really makes it fun because you can get them from anywhere.
You set up the perfect segue for the next question, which is how you decide what to buy or wear, and how do you decide what not to buy or wear. And this question was inherently more interesting for you anyway, as a merchandiser. And as we've talked about, you have all this information. But yeah, with all the options out there for what to buy and wear, how do you decide? I personally find it overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. I mean, you're not alone. It is even overwhelming for myself, but definitely when I think about what I'm deciding to buy, I it's kind of like my earlier thought about glasses and like cost per wear. It's really about longevity and like how many ways can I truly wear something, and that really is what's gonna, like, earn its keep, in my closet. It's not really about minimalism, but more just, like, mindfulness, in general, and I would say the amount of times I spend hemming and hawing and, like, 80 tabs open, whether I wanna, like, actually pull the trigger on something it, like, literally drives my husband insane, but I like to think of it as a part of my Virgo-minded, thought process, because really I'm not chasing quantity or even really novelty, I'm really chasing that mix of comfort, quality, and clarity. And then I would
Mm.
say on the opposite side of that, what I decide when I like don't want to buy something, I'm very petite in frame. So really, I think the biggest driver for me is ensuring that the item really isn't wearing me 9
Mhm.
times out of 10.
Yeah. Okay, well, using that analytical and feeling brain, how do you distinguish that when something So, okay, I can speak to, like, my I struggle with this, right? Like, not because I'm petite, but, like, going back to the eyeglasses thing. The other day, I was like, "Oh, I think it would be really cool to try out wearing some glasses, like, I'd like to add more structure to my look. I don't love earrings, like, I just wanna try something different." So I tried on a bunch of glasses, and I was like, "I think these are all wearing me." So how do you know when something is wearing you versus when you are standing out? Especially, like, again, when we think about the oversized glasses, how do you know that that it feels right versus distracting?
I mean, from a literal sense, like, if the fabric, it feels overwhelming on me, it's I'm literally drowning in it. So, like, that is
Okay.
probably, like, the biggest thing for me, like, a lot of, um pants are, like, way too long. I also have, like, a smaller chest, so, like, I am just constantly looking at brands that show up well and that can play to, like, my strengths of, like, being petite. I would say, one of the brands that does this really well, although she's on the pricier side, is, like, Ula Johnson. Like, her smaller size frame was literally, I feel like, was made for me. Like, it plays with proportion, it plays with shape, and I really gravitate towards things that kinda accentuate that for me so that the fabric, first and foremost, isn't wearing me. Even though I love oversized glasses and I love a puff sleeve and I play with the exaggeration constantly in my wardrobe, I also have to make sure that there's a balance because, like, there could be a puff sleeve, but, like, I'm, like, wearing, like, fitted trousers so that
Yeah.
I am not being swallowed whole by the whole garment. So it's really about, like, I think I
Yeah.
look at a bit about playing with proportion as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm curious what you think about this. Sometimes I just think about it as like, do you see me or do you see the clothes? Do you feel like that there's any aspect of that for you or different?
I don't really think so. I've always been someone who expresses myself in style. I've always had a knack for fashion way, way, way before I decided to make a career of it. And I can't tell you how many times I talk to my friends or where I'm shopping with a girlfriend and they're like, "Oh, I could never wear that. You could pull it off." And I'm like, "But you can wear it. You just have to have you just gotta hold your head a little higher. You gotta have the confidence to feel like you can." Like, literally anyone, in my opinion, can wear anything as long as they hold their head high and they've got the confidence to wear it. In my opinion, I think anybody can wear anything. But so I've never really been one, like, to shy away from fashion because if I feel confident and I feel good in it, it doesn't really matter. I don't really care what anyone else thinks. But
Yeah, super
I'm
fair.
a very rare breed. Like, that is not normal for most people.
No, I don't disagree. I think a lot of people feel that way. I mostly was just thinking about there's just different preferences, right? Like for me personally, as much as I love really like flamboyant fashion, I don't want to be overshadowed by it. That's my only like hesitation, right? I'm like it's not necessarily like a confidence thing, but I think sometimes it can just be a preference of like
Totally.
uh how do you want to show up in the world? And for some people, I think leading with the fashion is the most fun possible thing. And I just don't, I think we just have different ways of experiencing clothes. And like, I'm the kind of person that if you're wearing something amazing, then I'm the one that starts the conversation with like, "Oh my god, your outfit's amazing." You know what I mean? And like I'm
Yeah,
receptive to that. And I think it just like we're different like little puzzle pieces that can be
totally.
part of a conversation just in
Totally.
different kind of roles. That's kind of how I'm perceiving it.
Yeah, for sure.
What about body awareness? So what I mean by this is like how does clothing's texture, fit, how does any of that kind of impact whether or not you connect with a garment or wanna wear it?
Yeah, I mean, I think over the years there are definitely like signature details that I really gravitate towards. In silhouette, whether that's a puff sleeve, whether that's a ruffle, whether that's a polka dot. Texture, I think is a fun one, but again, it's all about finding potentially the right brand who almost and the shapes that fit your mold into the textures that work best for your body, if that makes sense. Like I'm trying to give an example. Like I love a rib. I love
Mm.
trying to think what else. I'm drawing a blank.
No worries. Anything that you steer away from because of how it feels?
Nothing that I don't say I would steer away from. Steer away from. I would say the thing for me that maybe I'm most self-conscious about is because I have a smaller chest. So like, and then anything that
Mm.
gets like too low, um, I kind of almost, and as I'm sitting here with like probably the most like buttoned up thing I could wear
I
tonight.
also love a crew neck.
Yeah, but, like, might be, like, a personal detail, but I have, like, a mole, like, that sits, like, right here, and it's usually, like, my gauge because it's, like, definitely very low, a lot like, on my neckline and my chest, like, it's usually
Mhm.
my gauge if, like, a top or a dress or anything goes almost below that mole, I'm like, it's probably not like my best foot forward. Just self-consciously, like I don't want
Totally.
anything below that.
That's
But
a
it
great
does get,
example.
yeah, it does get, I say, because again, I am small chested, it does get a little hard when tops and stuff like that just like don't fit me and what I would like kill for a bigger chest so that it would just, I wouldn't have to, I could gravitate towards potentially different silhouettes and maybe play with my neckline a little bit. But because I'm small chested, I try to steer away from things like that just because I don't feel good in it. It's not my best sense of self. It's not how I want to show up. I'm self-conscious about it. I'm not self-conscious about it, but like because if something hangs there that like the neckline of something just drapes too much there, I don't want to accentuate the fact that nothing is there.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I think we all this is something I learned from Asta when she was on the show. I mean, kinda had my own idea about this, but she said it really well, like, of course, we have aesthetic preferences for our body, and it doesn't have to be that we're saying that, it's flattering or like, we don't have to understand it. We don't have to understand every reason why
Totally.
something does and doesn't work. I mean, of course, every week I'm here trying to understand, but there are some things that it's just like, "Oh, I just don't like that. Alright."
Yeah.
Maybe we just let that go, like, I
Yeah.
just think
Just
it's
leave it in the
I think it's
past. It's not, yeah, it's not worth it.
I it's like there are certain things that I've tried to, like, push myself to like, and I just can't like it, and I'm like, "Why do I care so much about liking this?" It's like, "Okay, well, this is the situation that I'm in. I'm
For
gonna
sure.
stop trying to force that." Like, I don't really like wearing oversized tops because um I just prefer, like, a fitted top and then a really wide pant. That's just my favorite silhouette. I think it's fun. I think it's you know what I mean? And so when I try
Totally.
things, when I see someone else wearing something that's kind of oversized on top and I'm like, "Oh, I would still love to try that," and then I remember, like, you've
Uh,
actually tried that, like, a ton of times, and you consistently don't like that? Oh,
yeah.
I think we can stop trying that at some point or, like,
Totally.
maybe not right now, you know what I mean? And so I think we can bring ourselves that kind of acceptance and that grace to be like, "Yeah, I don't have to
Totally.
understand more. We just like what
I
we
can't,
like."
yeah. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I need to buy a dress for, like, a special occasion, and I get so attracted to, like, an oversized dress and shape because, like I said, I love to play with proportions, and it's, like, constantly something I pick up, and then I get to the fitting room, and I literally have that same thought that you just shared, Maureen, like, "Why do I keep picking this shape?" Like, I look like a lunch bag, like a paper bag, like, there's no I am completely lost in the fabric, and, like, this is not gonna look good at a special event. Like, I'm not gonna feel confident in my best sense of self in
Yeah,
this item. Like,
yeah.
I know I have to pick, either a formal dress or something that can accentuate my smaller proportions because that's where I'm gonna look my best, and not that the garment is wearing me, but for whatever reason, even though we've talked about this so many times throughout, our chat, like, I forget. We all forget.
And that's okay. I mean, especially when we're doing so much stuff online. I mean, we're constantly seeing examples of like an oversized silhouette or those
Totally.
just because we both said that specifically in all the catalogs, and then you get that into your head as like, I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, right? Like I get that into my head as like the best aesthetic, and then I have to reframe and remind myself like, yes, I see that in the catalogs or I see that online, but that doesn't immediately translate to what I feel best in, and we have to like do that kind of filter. But
Totally.
um, and when you are in person, it can be hard to tell sometimes when you see something on the hanger how oversized it's gonna be or what
Oh my
shape it's
god.
gonna be.
Yeah. That's why shopping in person is the absolute best because, like, a company hates to see my return coming because on the model, on the 5'9", 5'6" model who wears a size 2 or 4, it looks incredible on her, but on me, who's not 5'9", like I'm drowning in it, and
Yeah.
it's one of my biggest frustrations with shopping online because I am not that person, and
Yeah.
it
Very few of
always
us
it
are.
oh, yeah, none of us are, right?
Yeah.
And it almost always gets returned, so I that's why I try to stick to brands that I feel like where my fit, um, is consistent. Like, frame denim, I know no matter what, I go in there, and again, a little bit on the pricier side, but no matter what, anytime I go in there, my size is my same size, no matter the fit, no matter the fabric, nothing. Like, it's consistency for me, and that's what keeps me no matter how many times I walk into that store and I'm like, "I'm not gonna buy anything." I always walk out with something because they know what they're doing when it comes to fit and size.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. It's so good to have those brands that just work, that you gotta have,
Totally.
like not that it's easy to do, I mean, I'm sure you tried on
No,
tons of pairs of
it's
jeans.
taken me
Yeah,
years to find the brands that
yeah,
really work best with me, and I'm constantly trying to find new ones because, your
yeah,
style evolves and it changes and colors change and your fit also could fluctuate, so, like, you constantly almost need to have a handful in your wheelhouse, whenever you're shopping.
totally. Yeah. Um, what's exciting you in fashion right now?
What's exciting me?
Anything? You could say
Yeah,
no.
no, totally. There's definitely something. I think I love the resurgence of modern prep, or what some like to call, preppy academia. And one of the brands that I literally cannot get enough of is a brand called La Veste. They're a Spanish brand. I don't know if you're familiar with them. If not, highly laveste.com. Highly recommend checking them out. They really like take this interpretation really adventurously and like spin the whole concept of it on its head, I think.
Cool.
And, they borrow from, preppiness is like structure and polish, traditions, but then they inject color and charm and like chaos in ways that just like, the result is familiar, but like really delightfully offbeat. And they're just having so much fun with it. I'm constantly amazed, like season after season, how they like can top themselves like again and again. Um, they have stores in Europe, but they don't have any in the US. And I'm begging you, if you're listening right now, they had a pop up last summer they came to Soho in New York, but I cannot recommend them enough, especially when it comes to mixing color, which I think is maybe the other thing that I'm most interested about recently, and that's just new like unexpected like color combinations. I think La Veste like does this incredibly well, but um, red with brown or black with navy, shout out Fanny Adams, like, or was it Kelly
Both
Williams
of
as
them,
well?
yeah.
Both of them, yes. Black and navy, never thought I would dabble in that, but the two of
Yep.
them have really spun it on its head for me, and definitely I want to play around with that more. And then Levesque plays with like olive green, so they've got like chartreuse with like hunter, and you're like, I would never put these two colors together, but they just the way that they pair them in stripes and different patterns, it just has me thinking about things completely differently. And that I
Yeah, I'm
think
looking
because
at the site, it looks amazing.
the market right now just feels so oversaturated, and there's just so much choice, so many options, and a lot of the tried and true brands like kind of all feel the same, sadly.
Yeah,
And so I love when brands, play into the familiarity about it all, but like take it to kind of a whole other level with, whether that's detail or color, that just, looks truly, truly unique and makes them like stand out from the crowd.
totally. Yeah, I'll make sure to include a link in the show notes. Um, Coming towards the end here, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to build a wardrobe that feels intuitive and authentic to them?
I would say pay attention to how the clothes really make you feel and not how they look on anybody else. I know we touched upon a lot of that today. Reach for those pieces on repeat, because they're going to make you stand taller. They're going to make you instantly feel more like yourself. And that really is, I would say, the sweetest spot you want to be in. And then from there, look for patterns of things that you already love. Look for textures, look for colors that work, great on your skin tone or complement your eyes. Because that's at the end of the day, that's your personal brand story really starting to take shape. And most importantly, give yourself permission to edit. If something isn't serving you that served you 10 years ago, like get rid of it. It doesn't need to be in your closet. And honestly, if you have, I'm a big firm believer in like a spring overhaul or a closet edit. Like if, you're not continuously gravitating towards it anymore, like you don't need to like save it for a rainy day. Like, if you haven't worn it in 2, 3 years, like, get rid of it, because it's not serving you anymore. It's not bringing you joy.
I'm a secret minimalist, so I love that advice. No, I love what you said though about paying attention to how it feels how it looks on you or how it feels on you rather than how it looks on someone else. I think I could have used that advice years ago. Well, thank you so much. And where can listeners find you?
You can all find me on my Substack at Musings of a Merchandiser.
Fabulous. I will make sure to link to that. And thank you. This is really fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Intuitive Style is produced, edited, and hosted by me, Maureen Walton. Our theme music is by Tim Reed and Jacob Welton. In case you missed it, Intuitive Style, the podcast, is an offshoot of Intuitive Style, the newsletter. Head on over to Substack, search Intuitive Style to read the newsletter, which covers reflections on what's happening in personal style world, guest features, and the encouragement that there's no right way to get dressed. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share this episode with someone you think might enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe as new episodes drop weekly on Fridays. Thanks. See you next week.